On the sidelines of these COP21 negotiations, I'm joined by Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Director of the Earth Institute at Columbia University, and also a Special Advisor to the United Nations on the Sustainable Development Goals. Jeffrey Sachs, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Now, you've been somewhat cynical about the ambition related to this potential deal, saying in your words that the negotiators will reach a sufficiently vague deal. What is your biggest concern?
I think there will be a deal. I think it will stay below 2 degrees C, maybe even below 2 degrees C and moving down to 1.5 degrees Celsius as an upper limit if the science suggests it. So the goal will be okay, but there won't be a lot of specifics of how to do that. Rather, countries will make what are called their intended nationally determined contributions, their INDCs, a bottom-up process that doesn't necessarily add up to the goal that will be set. And there's going to be nothing in the agreement per se which makes the bottom-up approach really fit the top-down agreed limit. It doesn't mean that it's going to be terrible agreement. It just means that we're not going to be in safe autopilot once this is signed. We're going to have a tremendous amount of work ahead to actually honor the big words.
Now, obviously, finance is a sticking point. It has been for years now, really. We heard Francois Hollande say in his opening address that the developed countries owe the developing countries. Today, are the rich countries paying their debt?
No, they're not. The rich countries are mostly pleading budget crisis. They're saying, how can we give assistance? We're squeezed, our budgets are in deficit, we have refugee problems, so many problems. But the poor countries are saying, are you kidding? You've been promising. 6 years ago you said $100 billion, but where is the definition of that $100 billion? Recently a report by the donors said, but we're already giving $62 billion a year. And the poorer countries are saying, huh, what? 62? Where? We don't see any of it. Are you kidding? So there really is a difference of view. I work in both the high-income world and the low-income world, and there's not a lot of trust right now because the richer countries don't want to be specific about these commitments. They do want to leave them vague. My own country, the United States, the Congress doesn't want to give a penny. And so President Obama may say some number, but you look at the Republican-dominated Congress, it wants zero. Now, this is a big problem because promises have been made, but they really haven't been delivered. They haven't even been defined carefully, and that seems to go with the territory right now. Do keep things somewhat vague. It's better than nothing, but it's not as good as it could be.
Obviously, part of the talks is being dictated, but what would happen back in the United States Congress? What's needed to really shift this Republican opposition? And I'm talking more globally than just the talks, but in the world, in the climate change debate.
The U.S., my own country, very strange place, I have to say, because it's one of the last places in the world where it's just sheer anti-science, sheer rejection. And the Republican leadership doesn't want to hear about this issue. My interpretation is that they're on the take of the big oil industry, which pays campaign bills. I believe that the system is broken. So I don't believe that it's real opinions of these politicians. I think that that is how they perceive their political interests, given who pays their campaign bills. But be that as it may, you can't find many parliaments around the world as misdirected right now as the U.S. Congress in rejecting the most basic scientific findings. My country's filled with lots of smart scientists. They're telling the Congress every day, this is real, this is serious. We have drought in California, we have massive floods, we have mega storms, we have massive heat waves, and the Congress sits there and says, no, we don't believe it, no, we don't believe it. So this is broken, and it twists the whole world's discussion, and this is a serious problem. It will change because it's so artificial, and I believe so much a reflection of inside politics, not real opinions. The good news is the American people overwhelmingly know the truth. The opinion surveys show 70% of Americans, that's a big majority, say go for it. We want climate change control, but they're not represented in Washington right now. The oil industry is, but not the people.
We're also, you touch on the United States and Europe in particular. Yesterday, they made a call for emerging countries to start contributing more to climate finance to get rid of the old divide of developed and developing countries that we've seen since 1992. Do you agree that it's time that other players step up and could start contributing money?
I think it's a lot of nerve for the rich countries that haven't put their money on the table to start saying to the poorer countries, what about you? If the rich countries had done their job, it's not implausible to say to some of the upper middle income countries, you contribute too, but it's a lot of nerve to tell them now, why don't you do it, when they haven't done what they have said. So this really is a problem where the rich countries have promised aid. They promised aid for development for more than a generation. They promised the standard 0.7% of gross national income as development aid, and only a few countries have lived up to that. My own, nowhere close.